We turn to overseas now, to a seismic change in British politics. James Longman is live from London with what this means for one of the U.S.'s most important allies and what comes next. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Rebecca. Britain is waking up to an historic election result this morning. The governing Conservative Party of Rishi Sunak has been defeated in a monumental landslide by the Labour Party, and its leader, Keir Starmer, is now the Prime Minister. He is meeting as we speak with King Charles at the palace as per protocol. The King will ask him to form a new government. He will go to Downing Street and stand outside that famous number 10 door to speak to the British people. He is 61 years old, a former public prosecutor. I think fair to say not seen as massively charismatic, but he's a stability candidate after 14 years of Conservative rule. And
unlike in America, where you have a transition period of around 2 months and then a big inauguration, here all of the choreography of one leader going out and another one coming in has already happened. You actually saw a bit of it in our introduction. You saw Rishi Sunak standing outside of 10 Downing Street, his wife behind him, where he apologized for the election result, took responsibility for it. He then went to Buckingham Palace, where he resigned, gave his resignation to the King, and then was very quietly ushered out a back door. Then you have Keir Starmer, who kind of does the same thing, goes to Buckingham Palace, where he then is basically asked to form a government, and then he too stands in front of 10 Downing Street with his staff, with his smile, and puts out his plan for the future. That choreography is all done. It's now time for him to rule the country in the way that he's promised to. Lindsay.
Imtiaz, thank you so much.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has led the Conservative Party to its worst election result in history. This man, Keir Starmer, will soon call number 10 Downing Street home, leading the Labour Party to a landslide victory.
Britain has just changed, and 9 Europe correspondent Edward Godfrey is across it all for us. Edward, to say it's a thumping victory is an understatement.
It sure is, Carl and Sarah. They're calling this a transformation of the political landscape here in the United Kingdom. The polls closed an hour ago. The exit poll numbers are in, and they are ugly for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
For more on this, we're joined now by our correspondent, Oba Yuki. He has been covering the election for us from London. So, Yuki, what led to this sweeping victory for the Labours?
Yes. So for many, voting Labour was actually a vote against the Conservative Party. Many went into this election disappointed, saying that the Tories didn't improve people's lives. But Labour is now facing an uphill battle. They have put economic growth at the centre of their platform. That, however, may be easier said than done, considering the UK's current financial situation.
إذا مشاهدينا الكرام، صدقت استطلاعات الرأي وفاز حزب العمال البريطاني بأغلبية كاسحة في الانتخابات العامة التي جرت أمس. حصد الحزب 411 مقعدا من 650 مقعدا هي مجموع مقاعد البرلمان البريطاني، بينما حصل حزب المحافظين على 120 مقعدا.
Keir Starmer is the new UK Prime Minister after his Labour Party demolished Britain's Conservatives in Thursday's snap election. The centre-left leaning Labour Party received a huge election win, dealing a major blow to the right-wing Conservatives who've been in power for 14 years and 5 prime ministers. Here to help us understand what this could mean for Republicans here in the States is former British foreign policy advisor Niall Gardner. Niall, great to see you this morning. You know, we watched just a few weeks ago France, Germany, Italy move right in a lot of their EU and parliamentarian elections. Here's the UK seeming to go in the opposite direction. So what's going on in England that is not taking place over in the rest of Europe?
Well, many thanks for having me on the show from London this morning, Will. And if we look at what's happening in the UK, of course, it's very different to what's happening in most of Europe, where many European countries are moving to the right. But in the UK, they have a new left-wing government headed by Keir Starmer. In my view, this is a disastrous development for Britain. This is a socialist government in power for the first time in over 14 years.
Nos vamos a Londres en directo, Guadalupe Mejías.
Sí, acaba de superar los laboristas el umbral de los 400 escaños, se sitúa ahora mismo en 401. Recordemos que hay 650 escaños en el Parlamento británico y que hacían falta 326 para obtener mayoría absoluta. Así que, como decíais, los resultados son incontestables.
The United Kingdom is welcoming its first Labour government in 14 years this morning. The party has swept to power with a resounding landslide and handed the Conservative Party a crippling defeat. Labour has taken the majority of the 650 seats in the House of Commons, and party leader Kier Starmer has become the country's next prime minister. Now, moments ago, he arrived at 10 Downing Street, and here's what he had to say.
Change begins now. That was Keir Starmer earlier today vowing that change begins now after his party swept to victory yesterday in the past hour. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak arrived at Buckingham Palace to offer his resignation, which King Charles accepted. The former prime minister, or the soon-to-be former prime minister, also gave an incredibly gracious farewell to the British people from 10 Downing. Also moments ago, Keir Starmer left Buckingham Palace after meeting King Charles. He has now been appointed as the United Kingdom's new prime minister. Let's bring in right now Sky News anchor and MSNBC contributor Wilfred Frost, and also editor-in-chief of Bloomberg, John Micklethwaite. Thank you all both for being with us.
Direction le Royaume-Uni, les travaillistes britanniques s'installent au pouvoir suite à leur victoire écrasante. Le nouveau Premier ministre Kier Starmer a dévoilé son gouvernement. Il a promis d'unifier le pays après la sanction des électeurs de la politique d'austérité budgétaire menée par les conservateurs pendant 14 ans. On retrouve Hervé Amaurik devant le 10 Downing Street à Londres. Tout d'abord, qui compose ce nouveau gouvernement du Labour ?
Le Premier ministre a dit qu'il y aurait du changement, et du changement, il y en a, puisque, en priorité, bien sûr, il y a 3 femmes aux 3 postes premiers, avec en plus un ministre des Affaires étrangères qui est pro-européen. D'abord,
जहां कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी के इख्तिदार का सूरज गुरूब हो गया और 14 साल बाद लेबर पार्टी की हुकूमत में वापसी हुई है। लेबर पार्टी के कियर स्टार्मर वजीर आजम बन गए हैं, वहीं कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी के ऋषि सुनक अपनी शिकस्त कबूल करते हुए वजारत उज़्मा से मुस्ताफ़ी हो गए।
A new dawn has begun in the United Kingdom after a day of seismic political change. Sir Keir Starmer has become the country's new Prime Minister after leading the Labour Party to one of the biggest election wins seen in modern history. Rishi Sunak has confirmed he will step down as Conservative leader after the Tories suffered one of their biggest losses ever. This is the current state of play. Labor has secured 412 seats, doubling the amount of seats won at the 2019 election. The Conservatives are at 121.
Au Royaume-Uni, la Chambre des communes a changé de majorité. Les électeurs britanniques ont largement sanctionné les conservateurs de Rishi Sunak au profit des travaillistes, avec un tout nouveau Premier ministre entré hier en fonction. Keir Starmer, c'est son nom, est présenté comme le nouveau Tony Blair. Michel Scott.
Pour devenir Premier ministre au Royaume-Uni, un passage obligé, c'est le roi qui vous adoube et vous demande de former un gouvernement.
إلى ملف آخر إلى التطورات في بريطانيا صدقت التوقعات وفاز حزب العمال بأكثرية ساحقة فيما حقق المحافظون خسارة تاريخية. هذا وتعهد رئيس الوزراء البريطاني الجديد كير ستارمر بإعادة بناء البلاد وتوحيدها، وأشار إلى أنه سيبدأ عملية إعادة بناء البنية التحتية للفرص، مشددا على التعليم والإسكان بأسعار معقولة.
Wir werden seine Zeit in 10 Downing Street daher auch kritisch beobachten.
Annette Dittert in London. Was ist von der neuen britischen Regierung zu erwarten?
Ja, innenpolitisch muss Starmer jetzt vor allem liefern. Er hat versprochen, das wirtschaftlich angeschlagene Land wieder aufzubauen, hat aber im Wahlkampf nicht verraten, wie er das finanzieren will. Und da muss er nun konkreter werden, denn Keir Starmer hat diese Wahl nicht gewonnen, weil die Briten so besonders begeistert von ihm waren, sondern weil sie die Tories nach den Jahren des Brexit-Chaos so schnell wie möglich loswerden wollten. Und das heißt, er muss jetzt sehr bald erste Erfolge präsentieren, sonst ist das mit der Aufbruchstimmung ganz schnell wieder wieder vorbei.
And you're taking a look right there at 10 Downing Street. You saw a very brief look at the podium right there as he is going to be delivering some remarks. But before doing so, greeting all of his supporters and voters who made this happen. This is truly a historic defeat. This is the smallest number of seats in the party's 2-century history, leaving it in disarray. And that is the Conservative Party likely sparking an immediate contest to replace former Prime Minister Sunak as that party leader. So we're going to raise the volume again as we are expecting him to speak in just a matter of moments. Of course, having to meet and greet the crowd right there as voters are responsible for the fact that he is the United Kingdom's new Prime Minister. We're going to raise the audio once again.
Some breaking inputs coming in. We're being told that Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to the newly elected Prime Minister of UK and congratulated him for the Labour Party's remarkable victory. Rishabh is getting us more details on that, on the conversation that both the leaders had. Yes, Rishabh.
Well, definitely, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic call with the new UK Prime Minister after the election results were declared yesterday. The Labour Party have had a landslide victory, and India do understand that the bilateral relationship with the United Kingdom is very, very important, and hence this quick telephonic call between the two leaders.
The change in power has appeared inevitable for months, if not years. Today's result was so predictable, I was able to confidently film this weeks in advance before flying home to New Zealand.